In today's video, we're going to be talking about how your foot height contributes to running faster or in improving your top speed. We're going to get a little bit more in depth into what impacts the foot height and give some examples of athletes who are properly pushing off the ground and properly cycling the leg through to make sure then they can strike the ground with more power in comparison to just not doing that well. If you're new to this channel, my name is Morey Croson. I help athletes run better and sprint better to make it so they're able to stay healthy, be able to perform at a higher level, and really make it so you can just have a better understanding of what it takes to be able to run better. And what we're going to do here, I use the curved treadmill a lot when it comes to being able to help people understand the running mechanics. I think there's a ton of benefits that come here. And I recently got a comment. I made a video about really some of the fundamentals of sprinting. And one of the comments were, can you basically expand off of the toe off and how the foot height goes into or contributes to greater top speed? And I will start off by saying that this is specifically to when at top speed. I do think when we are accelerating, it's better to have that low heel recovery in order to then effectively strike the ground. But when we see here, and I'm not going to be able to provide all types of different in-depth data into, the study that was done in 2023 that shows that this is what creates this amount of force. I don't know if there is a study like that. I'm just using the objectivity of athletes who are able to run faster in comparison to athletes that are not able to run as fast, and why that is. And a big part of that is what they're doing within their backside. So we can see here on the right, this athlete is, he hasn't run track for a little bit. I would say he's a 22-mile-an-hour guy on the track. Where that is, I still think he's going to be able to run like 7-11, probably mid-10s in the 10th grade in comparison to 16, 17 mile an hour on the track. More of a 400-meter guy, but just not really as fast, right? 16 to 17 miles an hour in comparison to like 22 miles an hour. Okay. And the first thing that really stands out here, so you can kind of see like the push off here, is going to be the foot height. So we're going to just look at kind of like the bottom part of the glute. I think ends up being an important thing to be able to measure here. And then we'll see the same thing here, kind of bottom part of the glute. Okay. And we can just see a big difference of the foot height. Okay. And so what this contributes to is then just being able to already have a high foot position. Because what happens here is that when we're lifting up through the knee and when we're lifting up through the foot, the amount of range of motion that we're going to be able to get out in front is just going to be limited because we don't have the same type of height. So if you have more height in the foot, then as we're coming through, what you're able to do, because you have a little bit more height with the foot here, we also have the momentum of the leg coming through, right? So you can see as he's going through here, now we can get more range with the leg out in front here to make it so then we have a better opportunity to generate more power into the ground. Okay, so we can see the foot position, kind of the angle of the leg from one side in comparison to the other, and we just simply do not have the necessary range when we don't have a good amount of push off or a good amount of height within the foot. So there ends up being a direct correlation, at least in my opinion. Again, this is just based off of working with these guys that are running really fast. There's a direct correlation to what we're doing within the foot strike, within that front side. So being able to generate a lot of power into the ground makes it so then you are going to be able to be more efficient with the push off or the toe off. And this is what the main part of the video is about, was like really being able to toe off the ground. And when you could do that well, what we end up seeing is we see more positive activation out of the low back, out of the glutes, out of the hamstrings, out of the calves, right? All that posterior chain is going to be more active, which when we get more activation there, that's going to give us the opportunity to then have a reciprocal action happen, which is essentially now we're going to be able to, as we swing through, get more activation out of the core, more activation out of the hip flexors, more activation out of the quads, more activation out of the anterior tibialis. All the muscles that were just active seconds ago, milliseconds ago, can now respond, and the opposite now ends up being able to be more easily accessible because of what just happened happened on the backside. And now when you get that good push off, you also get a lot more height there. Now we change that or compare that to not getting the same type of activation, right? We can see basically at toe off, there's really limited to no activation through the calves. We could see some activation looks like out of the hamstrings, some activation out of the glutes, but the back looks pretty flat. I would say there's probably limited activation through some of the muscles within the back or even the glute muscle, because there's so much internal rotation happening here instead of pure extension happening here. There's really not a ton going on within that posterior chain. So now it becomes a lot more challenging to be able to reach that anterior tibialis, to reach that core, to reach those hip flexors, because those muscles are just simply not active, or the antagonist muscles were just not active there. And so as the leg comes through, there's not going to be nearly as much speed with the leg coming through, and you run out of time very quickly. You know, the thing about sprinting is you just sometimes simply do not have enough time when it comes to the leg cycle. So if we're not able to push off well and the leg isn't cycling through, then we're not going to have time to be able to get the foot all the way out in front to then be able to effectively strike the ground. So the reason that being able to get more height in the foot, the main point of this video is why or how does the height of the foot contribute to overall speed? The big thing that you have to be able to do, or that you're able to do when you get more height with the foot, is you have the time to then get the foot out in front of the knee. The more effectively we can get the foot out in front of the knee, then the more power we're going to be able to generate into the treadmill, the more power that we're able, or into the ground, the more power that we're able to generate into the ground, with then being able to positively interact with the ground, okay? Because all of this goes out the window if you're not able to control foot strike. So assuming that you know how to control your foot strike and you're able to maintain a good position when you strike the ground with more power, then that is going to contribute to a higher level of speed, especially if you're able to do it with more horizontal force, which is what happens when you have a high foot and then are able to cycle the leg through and have that effective push off. You have to be able to push off well. We see all the best people push off and get the range through the foot, which makes it so then you get more height on the backside. I mean, we can go through and see some of these top guys. I'm just going to use Usain Bolt and I'm going to use Noah Lyles real quick as two easy people to be able to see in the races, but everybody that they're racing too, these are all amongst top sprinters. Look at how high their foot's getting back behind them. You're not going to find people that are not getting a lot of height with their foot back behind. And then we'll do same thing with Noah Lyles here. And again, I mean, this is one of those things where it's like, I mean, we're looking at some of the best people in the world, some of the fastest people in the world. And so they're all doing this really well. It's not like, oh yeah, Noah Lyles does this better. This is just fundamentals of like what it takes to be amongst the fastest people in the world. Again, we could see backside here. We could see backside here. Look at the height, look at the foot position. And then obviously with Noah Lyles, look at the height of the foot, look at the foot position. All that is very indicative of what's going to make him amongst the fastest people in the world, and what you want to be able to do in order to make it so you could be there as well. In order to first get there, though, we have to be able to understand the push off wants to be not only upwards, but really forwards to make it so then we can get the foot out in front of the knee. Because if you miss that, if you end up just hitting the ground with a straight vertical shin, then you're going to miss the ability to run faster. You have to be able to get this pull in order to then maximize your speed and be able to get everything out of your sprint potential. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. If it does, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. As always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.